Hey, hockey friends and families, got exciting news from our title sponsor, NHL Sense Arena. Most of you have asked us all the time, is it just for goalies? Can skaters use it? Well, they've just made a revolutionary new update called Dangle Pro. It's the world's first mixed reality stick handling trainer. Now, you've all seen that video of someone with them throwing a lot of different things, pucks, gloves, everything at them on the ice. NHL Sense Arena has found a way using the Meta Quest to do this in mixed reality. So you can dangle through live 3D obstacles that appear right in front of you, earning points and developing better stick handling skills in the process. It is so much fun. When I tried it, I was blown away by how fun it was, but also it's going to help your kids build faster hands and good habits. Like picking your head up while stick handling with the puck, something we talk about all the time. This thing is only available inside NHL Sense Arena, and they're giving, again, $25 off an annual subscription. They're very gracious with us. When you use the code OKPH at checkout, you can check that out at sensearena.com/OKPH. Again, sensearena.com/OKPH. And give your young hockey player that increased hockey IQ, gets more confidence, faster hands. But this new module called Dangle Pro, they've really outdone themselves with this. Again, NHL Sense Arena is the only VR hockey training platform officially licensed by the NHL. It's a proud partner of USA Hockey and the OMHA. And it's got hundreds of drills on here for goaltenders, for players. And again, just 10 to 20 minutes a day, a few times a week, can really sharpen your kid's skill set. Trust me, it's a far better use of screen time than scrolling on YouTube or just playing regular video games. Again, sensearena.com/OKPH, sensearena.com/OKPH, sensearena.com/OKPH. Get your $25 off. Check out Dangle Pro. And now, check out this episode. Hello, hockey friends and families around the world, and welcome back to another wonderful episode of Our Girls Play Hockey. I'm your host, and I'm thrilled to be joined today by the newest member of our team, Olympian and PWHL star Hayley Scamurra, and her boyfriend, mentor and trainer. I was asked to say that, Nick Stoop. Today, we're diving into a topic that's foundational to every successful player's journey, mentorship. And whether you're a youth player, you're just starting out, chasing a national team dream, having the right support, guidance, and voices around you really can be a game changer. So from the locker rooms to the late night calls, mentorship can show up in ways big and small and at any time. And today, Hayley and Nick are going to go and help us unpack what truly mentorship looks like, both on and off the ice. Hayley, Nick, excited to dive into this one with you. Welcome to Our Girls Play Hockey.
Thanks for having us here. Yeah, this is obviously a huge passion of ours, and we're grateful we get the opportunity to share it with your awesome audience.
Thanks, man. Well, look, it's a huge passion of mine. I know, Hayley, it's a huge passion of yours as well. And so this episode is going to be a lot of great questions with a lot of great answers. And I can't say it enough that we actually don't talk about mentorship as a pillar enough in the game of hockey. I think it's one of those assumed things that just doesn't get discussed. So we're going to dive into that today. So let's start with the easy question. Hayley, I'll start with you. What does mentorship mean to you, especially in the world of hockey?
Yeah, for me, mentorship's just like another form of coaching, and I think it also spans like not just on the ice, but off the ice too, mentally and physically. It can just kind of encompass like the whole athlete perspective, and for just different adversities they may face on or off the ice. And so just helping out any way I can, just with the experience that I've had playing this game for so long, and just share what I've experienced and how I've dealt with things, and see if that can help the next generation.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, I think that something I tell players sometimes is, to find a mentor, right? If I'm not already in that position, and that the character of that person, is really, really important, right? I mean, because like you also find the poor mentor. So Nick, I would throw that to you actually. What do you look for in a good mentor?
I'm so glad you mentioned that, because actually what I was going to tell you, one of the biggest things in terms of mentoring, it isn't about trying to find a mentor to just learn what they do to repeat it. It's about finding a mentor to learn about their processes, their ways of living, observing, operating, taking action. And then with that mentor, utilizing that information to create that pathway for you around what you want to do, your goals, how you process information, how you engage with experience That's the biggest piece. I feel like most people, and it's just common, right? You think with coaching, you're just going there to take in everything and do whatever they say. And that's great. However, you don't want to just take what they say and do it blindly.
Right.
You want to learn about it. You want to understand it. You want to know why and how these things are benefiting you and bringing you closer to that goal. And how does this look like for me applying it to myself? Not, hey, this is what Coach Stoop does. I got to do exactly what Coach Stoop does. And I always say, it's like, are you Coach Stoop? No, I'm Coach Stoop. And me as a mentor, it's not my job to just teach everything. It's more so to share all of the wisdom, the knowledge, the experiences I have had, or that I've been able to help others through. And through that information, sharing it with you, you and I will find that path forward.
I love it, man. And I'll tell you too, that hockey, especially youth hockey, is facing this, I call it a problem right now, where we are seeing kids just kind of do what they're told. There's no thought behind it. They just go from A to Z because I told you to go from A to Z. And I think the best mentors, and look, you could probably equate this to hockey IQ a bit too, but the best mentors aren't like you said. They're not just telling, they're teaching. Like, hey, you need to think. You need to think. You know, when I look back to my mentors as a kid, the advice was not how to play a 1-2-2 system so much. It was the mindset, right? It was the character. It was the ability to be an independent thinker and see the game in that way. And then also, applying it to life, right? That, hockey is a vehicle for our growth as human beings. I mean, I think just for the parents listening and the kids, right? If you're seeking out a mentor, they have to have an understanding of that. Because if the mentor's only job is just hockey skills, I mean, you're a skills coach at that point. You're not, and you can mentor skills, don't get me wrong. But I think the big picture kind of matters.
It's funny you mention that because, what I often end up doing isn't just mentoring the kids. It's actually working with the whole family dynamic.
Yeah.
And I think that's also an important piece to understand, because you really hit the nail on the head there with it extends far outside hockey. In actuality, everything that you are has been generated and created pre-hockey. So then being able to have a foundation of understanding who you are and how you process information, but also experiences you have, that predates hockey. So this is a huge piece with mentoring, is being able to help them, not just with, maybe we call it opportunities, problems, we call them opportunities, opportunity in disguise on the ice. Well, really, what is this actually connected? Is it just something that generated when you were playing hockey? Or does maybe this stem from other experiences you've had outside of hockey, and now these things are kind of carrying over? Maybe something happened at school, right? And you're kind of off your mental game, if you will, and now you're carrying that over onto the ice. Maybe you're frustrated about it. Maybe it was a grade, or maybe it was an argument with the friend or something, right? And those type of things. And then we get frustrated when we're out there on the ice. So why am I not performing? And oftentimes say, hey, what's going on? And you're like, I don't know. Because when you're out there on the ice, the brain is only trying to associate what's going on here and now, and not realizing, oh man, I'm bringing some of this stuff onto the ice that was maybe impacting just how I was experiencing school, or it could have been the ride over, whatever it could be, driving to practice for those old enough to drive, right? And you get stuck in traffic, and then that just gets you that's the first thing that kind of gets you out of your groove, right?
Yeah, I'll tell you this too. And then Hayley, I actually want to ask you about this being a professional player, but one of the best pieces of advice I ever got, Nick, to your point, was I remember I had a tremendous fight at home. It was the first time my dad didn't drive me to practice. Right. And I'll tell you right now, I was being the typical teenager. Like I was in the wrong. But I remember my coach actually picked me up to talk about mentors. And I just remember him saying to me, a lot of good advice in the car ride. But when we got to the rink, he pointed at the rink and he said, when you walk through those doors, you've got to leave everything outside. And he said, I have a wonderful relationship with my father. He's like, you will have the time to have that conversation. But when you walk through, you got to leave it all behind. And that message never left me. It's a place of peace. Right. And here's the other cool thing. about mentorship. And Hayley, I'm going to throw this one to you, is that I think there's a misconception that mentors must be like the old wise wizard that has all of the answers. And the truth is, mentors can be younger than you. They can be older than you. They can have experience. Like you said, experience. Hayley, this is how I'm going to throw this to you. When we started the show, Our Kids Play Hockey, women's professional hockey, this is just a few years ago, completely different world. Just completely. I mean, there was a pro league at that time that no longer exists. But just like within 4 or 5 years, we have a really a flag in the ground now for the PWHL. You're a player. You're an Olympian. I am so curious how mentorship for someone in your position would work, because we're talking about an evolution of the game that has happened rapidly. How do you mentor? How are you mentored in that? How do you take care of each other?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. That was something I was going to mention too. Like the mentor doesn't have to be someone who's like 10 years older than you or 20 years older. It can be your teammate.
Right.
I know for me, like some huge mentors to me going into like the USA program were like Hillary Knight, Kendall Coyne. They know how to like make you feel comfortable and just answer any questions that you have. Like I remember before the Olympics, I was terrified and I was just having like a moment of panic. I'm like, "Oh my God, what is it going to be like over there? Like, am I going to be able to like get good food?" Like just random things I was freaking out about. And I just remember I like texted Hillary that night and she called me and she like talked me through everything and like what to expect. And something that simple was just massive.
That's
Um,
a good name to have in your phone, by the way. That's
yeah, not too shabby, not too shabby. And then like Kendall, for example, like anytime we're at world championships or camps for USA Hockey, she's always sitting with different groups of people and getting to know them. And something that simple can make someone feel so much more comfortable and then perform at their best. So those are kind of things that I try to embody as well. So now that I'm like a veteran in terms of the Pro League and USA Hockey, I'm always kind of reaching out to the younger players, seeing if they have any questions, talking them through any anxieties they might be having, and helping out any way I can. Because I just remember being in their shoes and being nervous, and just a simple,
right.
hey, want to go walk for a coffee meant the world to me. So I just do those little things, and that's how I feel like I'm able to mentor the new players.
Yeah, and again, we're talking at the pro level. Let's bring it down now. And a great answer to the question, right? To the youth level, right?
Hmm.
Look, girls hockey is growing pretty rapidly as well. It's wonderful to see, but like we're growing and we must get bigger. Like we know that, right? So talk to me, or sorry, talk to the young ladies out there about mentorship, how it's important for them to have a mentor, and really a male driven sport still, but
Hmm.
growing. And where they can look and who they can find, and what aspects of a mentor a young lady should be looking for in youth hockey.
Yeah, I think in terms of their own team, maybe like someone who has played hockey a little bit longer than them, maybe it's just someone you feel really comfortable confiding in. I think, your players have a good gauge of each other and what they kind of bring and who they're most comfortable talking to. And I think just leaning into that a little bit more and just being vulnerable with one another and being okay with that. But I think that also starts with like the coaches making sure that that's kind of in place
Right.
with the players and making sure that like they're creating that good culture. Um, yeah.
Well, I'll add on that too. My daughter plays on both a girls team and a co-ed team.
Hmm.
And for parents who don't see that a lot, there is a huge difference in terms of, I don't want to say her demeanor, but her approach, right? When
Hmm.
she's on the all girls team, they get just the locker room together. They're all on the same page, understandably. But when she's on the co-ed team, she's getting dressed in a different locker room.
Hmm.
Different athletes treat her a little bit differently. And I think that, along with the mentorship piece for youth hockey, it's also awareness, right? I think sometimes coaches, well, it's not a big deal. I mean, she's on the ice with them. Well, no, it is kind of a big deal, right? She's not involved in some of those locker room conversations and that camaraderie. Not to mention, especially in the younger ages, like which is when most co-ed teams are, an 8, 9, 10-year-old boy. Look, the maturity is all over the place with that. All right, so I think part of the mentorship is also awareness. Would you guys agree with
Hmm.
that?
100%. Actually, that is by far the most important thing, just period, with
Mm-hmm.
everything in life. All things ever is awareness. And that's ultimately where we start with any athlete, any individual that we're working with, anyone that we're teaching. It's solely about becoming aware, because that's the first step in being able to acquire any new information and then apply it towards a goal.
Right.
Yeah, becoming aware that, hey, right now we're finally, the last few years has been amazing putting girls hockey on the map with the PWHL, right? Because there's now this visible, tangible potential that's now being seen. That is something that these individuals' brains can resonate with, not even just the person. I'm talking about, from honestly, one of the reasons we formulated this is because all of these amazing athletes that I'm working with, they don't see me as that potential. They see me as someone they're learning from. But when I'm really trying to get an individual to learn and see things through that lens, having them learn it from someone that they are looking up to potentially emulate, whatever you help teach that individual, who's ever observing that is taking in that information simultaneously. So not only do you actually get to, in a sense, help one person, but you get to help one person and many people simultaneously at the same time. And my favorite way to cultivate that is, after learning it, having them share that, whether it's back with me or, hey, who do you know that might be, and that's one of my favorite questions, because I always want this awareness to be two-pronged. One, you individually, but two, everything around you.
Right.
Right? Because now you could start to identify when someone else might need that help. Or, hey, whenever so and so are together, we typically maybe get anxious about games. And then I notice when she gets anxious, I get more anxious. When I get more anxious, she gets more anxious. And in knowing that and seeing that, we could be like, wait a second, hey, wait, we don't have to be anxious. We don't have to only be anxious. Like, we're also excited, and like, we can be there to help each other instead of spiraling kind of more down that path, spiraling the other way, and pick each other up and have each other's backs when you need it or they need it.
100%. The other thing that comes with this, Nick, is the word community. And I think that that's something that, unfortunately, in recent years has been kind of maybe going the wrong direction a little bit. That, when the FOMO sets in and there's so much pressure to make the next level, and, the AAA, double A, quadruple A, whatever showcase elite supreme team you're going to be on. Yeah, right. It's like we forget that the community matters here too, that we got to help each other, right? The rising tide lifts all ships. I'm a huge believer of that as a coach. Another part of the mentorship is that, as you said, it never ends. We're going to get into in a minute how mentoring young athletes actually in turn also mentors us. There's that the student becomes the teacher, the teachers become the student aspect of it. But you are alluding to it, so I want to bring it up. You two have started an incredible platform, the kind of pro athlete experience, and I would love for you to talk about that a little bit of the mentorship platform. Obviously why you started it, but also what's the biggest transformations you've seen so far in it?
Well, it started because we actually originally had it where it had like on and off ice drills to do, workouts, nutrition, just different resources that we both never really had growing up that we always wish that we did have access
I
to.
love it. It's always the best reason to do it.
Um,
I really
a
mean that.
100%.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I never had this as a kid is a great reason.
Mhm. And yeah, so we basically decided to start that. And then what we kind of realized is that more people kind of wanted more access and like talking to us in terms of getting like advice and things like that. And that's when we started our weekly calls. So just weekly video calls with anyone in our community who wants it at a certain time. We usually just different days of the week. We kind of would mix it up, and we would have great discussions. Like, we would be going over the hour mark, and it was like, "Oh, guys, we gotta cut this off. Like, I gotta go eat dinner," like they were just so eager to learn and to share their stories. So that's just been the coolest part of it, I think. It's just how comfortable they've gotten talking to me and to Nick and to each other and helping each other through problems. Because all of us, including myself, we all face similar obstacles in the hockey world, regardless of what level it is. And that's been the coolest thing to see.
I'll jump in and say as well, like, even myself, not involved in that way, there'd be things that I would personally be experiencing that was like kind of a good theme. Hey, wow, okay, it sounds like you're experiencing something similar, but in a different way. And this was a great way to not only address the hockey portion of these things, but hey, I too, as a human in real life, like these are also things that happen. And this is how, and I would share like how I react, how I respond, what I choose to do, and the why, so that they can start to understand, oh, okay, this isn't just isolated here or isolated to me or just in this one area. Oh, this actually something more people, different ages, different experience levels, different backgrounds. We're all experiencing our own version of these things. And one of the, I think the biggest difference that I've noticed is going to really highlight just what you said, Hayley, about how comfortable they have all gotten. And the reason for me personally, this is so important, understanding things more from a psychological perspective, for them to be so comfortable with being on this video call with people that, maybe they've never even yet got to meet each other in person.
Right.
And with someone, right, like having that potential starstruck kind of experience, someone that you have like up here, if you will, and you feel like you're here, but everyone now, we're all on the same screen. We're all on the same screen, same page. We're all experiencing things together.
Right.
And the degree's different, but seeing how comfortable they got being vulnerable with her and each other showed me two of the biggest things that I always am excited to see: a growth in confidence and security, and strength and courage in allowing themselves to be vulnerable, which reflects those. That is single-handedly one of the biggest growth factor indicators for any human at any age. But
Right.
to see that with kids and being able to start self-identifying their own processes or others, and not taking things, whether it's personally or taking them on, but being able to stand in their own power and navigate their own experience. That, to me, I'm the most proud of by far. That just makes me so happy every time we're on those calls together, to hear just no thoughts. They're just themselves, genuinely, authentically. That is the biggest change for me.
But what's really cool about what you're saying is that, look, this is a hockey show, so everything is very hockey centric. But if you're a parent listening to this, I have to do this too at times. Like, take a step back. Wouldn't you just want that for your kids without the hockey? Right? You know what I'm saying? Like if this was not a hockey show and it's like, hey, this is what it's going to provide, you wouldn't hesitate, right? I always think about things like this. Just happens to be for I mean, obviously centered on hockey, but it goes beyond hockey. And like, I wrote it down too, that real trust, and that's what you're building, is trust, which is the most important foundational element for any group of people, is coming through vulnerability. And I think that those conversations are so important. I'll also say this too, and Hayley, I'll talk to you about this because you're going to be on the show. You'll find really quickly with our audience, we've built up this massive audience, because when the show started, the idea is there's got to be parents out there that don't just fit this crazy internet sensational hockey parent, and they are absolutely out there. We always say, we joke, you're not crazy, the hockey world's crazy. But you have discovered this community as well, and you're going to see throughout your course on the show, Hayley, people will come up to you and say, I really wish you would discuss this. And, I love that you did discuss this, because the community wants to share. And I'm going to keep saying the word community, community, community. We need more community back in this game and back in society, for much less, we'll keep it to the game for now. Hayley, I also love that you said that sometimes you have to leave at the hour, because I can see a kid saying, Hayley had to leave. Why? The Olympics. Had to go to the Olympics. But look, we're talking about youth hockey players right now, which I love. Okay. And one of the things about coaching, and I think we'll say either younger coaches or stubborn coaches don't necessarily understand this, that as a coach, you're still a student. You're always learning. You're just always, if you stop learning, you're not coaching anymore. You're actually that's just your ego now. Right. And I'm very blessed that I get to coach from a national level all the way down to kind of squirt levels. So I see a wide variety of different mindsets, different kids. And I'm going to tell you, I learn as much from the 8-year-olds as I do from the 18-year-olds or the 28-year-olds. We'll say that at this point too. because it's all about meeting those players where their skates are at or where their feet are at, right?
Mhm.
But I always enter into the arena, at least I try to, with a sense of wonder, right? And I try and see the game through their eyes. But that's the duality of mentorship. Of course, I'm mentoring them, but they're also mentoring me. Maybe we don't say that enough as mentors,
Mhm.
but let's just discuss for a minute as kind of the group of
I mean,
youth mentorship and how it goes both ways.
this is.
Absolutely. Yeah. Oh, go
Oh,
ahead, Nick.
I was
You're
gonna
both
say,
passionate. I love it. Go
yeah,
ahead. Go ahead.
I want to say community and connection are by far the most important elements for purposeful living and experiencing life in any type of fulfilled way.
Right.
That when you mentioned that and the trust component, and I want to mention also, really the trust piece is the trusting the other person's actually secondary. It's trusting yourself
Mm.
and your ability and the decisions you make, right? To trust that you decided to trust this person. And I always, for my mentally, I always set different, I call them like, cues or something that as soon as the brain picks up, it'll run a different program. And this is kind of some of the stuff we teach. So, and because one of the questions I always will get back, knowingly, most people have been disappointed trusting someone else. And
Mm.
I always say, listen, right? Then you didn't enter that fully. And because part of you was halfway out, you were due to experience what you were expecting to, right? Also, isn't it fair to then say that you then just gave them the full power over your experience?
Mm.
And was that what you wanted in a mentor? No, right? And that's part of an experience itself, is being able to learn how to trust and to trust fully, but not blindly. There's a huge difference. There's a huge difference. But I wanted to mention that because I feel like that's very important.
Yeah.
Uh, but Hayley, I want you to go ahead and take some of this, and then I've got infinite I can add to it. But I wanted to share that.
Yeah, in terms of like the players mentoring like me and Nick, like honestly, I, was frustrated during the season. I was having a hard time feeling like I wasn't, producing or contributing to my team in terms of points on the score sheet. And I remember I was just like so down about it. Like after games, I would just be so frustrated. And we had a call that week, and I think one of the girls mentioned like they were frustrated they hadn't gotten points in a few days, feels like they weren't contributing to their team. And then hearing them say it, I was like, well, that's ridiculous. Like there's other ways you can contribute to your team. It doesn't have to be on the score sheet. Not everyone is producing on the score sheet, or else it's not hockey. Like we see it in every level. Like there's different roles you play, and that's the beauty of hockey, is that it's a team sport through and through. And we all have our roles. Then if we execute them, our team can be successful. And again, it doesn't, not everything is statistical, right?
Right.
So I think that was a huge lesson that I learned that they kind of taught me. And it was just massive for me. It was a huge mind shift change.
I'll tell you both this, since we're all being vulnerable right now, which I love. I'm recently retired from playing competitively. And the last few years of me playing was overlap with my kids kind of start in the game.
Mm,
And I remember this, I was telling actually the kids this the other day that, look, I work in the game. I've been living the game my whole life. And Hayley, kind of like you're saying, there's periods of it where I don't want to say it becomes work, but it is work, right?
hmm.
And I don't just mean the grind, like it's a job. I mean, it
Literally.
becomes,
Hmm.
and you can, like anybody in life, you can get lost in that at times. And I remember I was coming off the ice. I think it was a game. I was playing in a game. And I remember I got off the ice and I just felt this, God, I still love this so much. Not in a somber way. Like it was a gratitude of, I love this game so much. And the gratitude was in, I'm so fortunate. And parents, this is for you. I'm so fortunate that at my not old age, but my age, I still love this as much as I did when I was 12. Right? I get the same. If I might actually love it more.
Hmm.
Right? But I was allowed in my journey to understand that love and to understand that joy. Right? Keeping in mind too, and I'm going to kind of pivot here a little bit. I didn't grow up in a time when there was social media. I did not grow up in a time where there were highlights of me or everybody else in the world. Stats were not widely available. In fact, I kept my own
Hmm.
stats, right? So there were no distractions per se when I was growing up in the late 90s, early 2000s. That I dated myself for all of you. All right. But the love is eternal. I still feel that love for the game. And obviously I'm on the ice all the time as a coach. Where am I going with this? From a mentorship standpoint, it's so important that you provide the enjoyment of the experience, because this is, again, not just limited to hockey. All right. And it's so important that you mentor that way. And kids, again, you mentor us. Your joy of the game in youth hockey can be easily forgotten when you're playing at an extremely high level or working in the game. So I love that we share that. Nick, did you have something? Sorry.
Oh, so many things here. So many beautiful things. First and foremost, I think one of the most important thing that I could share for the easiest way to learn anything in life is make it fun. If you can find a way to make whatever it is that you're doing or teaching, coaching, or applying for yourself, finding a way to make it fun.
Or as the Marines say, embrace the suck. Sometimes that's how you have to make it. I know that's not where you're going.
Yeah. Well, like what I would say there is like embracing the suck is fun. That for you, has a very fun connotation of just going. Right. So again, that's making it fun. You know,
it is. And that's where I was going with that. You nailed it.
Yeah, I love that. Anything you can make fun, you will learn significantly quicker. You will retain faster. People do not remember information. And this, I want everyone to hear this. People don't just remember information. This is why you can teach all these different subjects at school, and they're sitting there and they're not going to remember every single thing. But anything that struck any type of personal chord or some kind of experience that went along with that information, now you've got something. And what I always used to tell people with presenting and stuff is like, don't think of it as presenting. First off, no one likes to be presented to, and no one is that excited about presenting. Correct. Boom. All right. Who enjoys conversations? Who remembers conversations that you have with friends and family?
Right.
We all do, right? Make it more of a conversation, because now you're connecting. And what is a conversation? It's not talking one way. It's also not just listening to talk. You've now entered in a conversation, which is a two-way communication, where you're now actively choosing to understand everything that is being said, done, or shared with you from their perspective, not your own.
Right.
And one of the biggest things I think for any coach, parent, teacher, anyone really, not only can we learn from them, but honestly, we can learn how to connect a lot easier with different people when we allow ourselves to listen, to understand them, and not solely just to make a point or to teach a thing, right? Because you might learn why they haven't connected with it. And honestly, what I have found is those type of questions ultimately lead to levels of awareness gain that no amount of teaching information would have ever given them. Because now they're starting to, instead of just recite information that you're reciting to them, now they're connecting with other information in their own brain. Now they're connecting with themselves. And they want to try to understand this when they're asking questions. It's not necessarily just the person. Sometimes it's the physical brain, the computer. How do we plug this information in? How do you want us to play this? How and why? Those are the two biggest questions.
Right.
Because it's not just the kids wanting to know. There's direction for that information for output.
Well, I'll tell you this too, that, and one of my favorite quotes is, great questions demand great answers. Right. I'm also a believer that there are no stupid questions, but great questions demand great answers. And sometimes from a mentorship standpoint, Nick, you know what I tell people is that, I might not have the answer, but I can give you the questions you should probably be asking yourself. And sometimes that's more valuable than any advice, right? Especially in hockey. And I know you both get this all the time. It's like, what should I do? It's like, I can't make that decision for you, right? But I can give you the questions you should be asking yourself.
Here, I'll actually take that to another level, because we actually hold all the answers that any of us actually need. Most of the time when we ask questions, we're secretly asking for permission or validation.
That's great.
So really, the great questions will lead to great questions. And when you know how to ask yourself questions, when you know how to talk
Right.
to your brain and listen to it, it's like utilizing a chat GPT of your all pulled information. You ask yourself the question, you will get those answers.
Right. Let's the be curious, not judgmental side of it too, right? The
Mm.
curiosity and the creativity. That's one piece of mentorship I always give, well, everybody, but specifically kids, is don't ever lose the ability to be creative in your mind.
Yeah.
Right. Obviously that plays out on the ice really well too, but your ability to stay creative and not, like I said at the beginning of the episode, go from A to B without, well, this is what you told me to do. No, let's think. Why are we going from A to B? Why are we doing it? Again, on the ice and off the ice. Okay. I'm going to keep moving here because we'll be on the show for 6.5 hours if I
I
can.
know.
For the second half of this episode, we're going to get a little more specific for the audience because we projected some of the questions you probably do want to ask, right? First one I'm going to ask, Hayley, and again, you'll love this one. Let's talk about pressures of points and stats. We kind of alluded to it. How can mentorship help players shift their focus from the performance to the purpose? They're both important, but if you don't have a purpose in the way you're playing, you're lost.
Yeah, exactly. It's the why we play, right? And it's always kind of remembering the reason we play is because we love the game and we love having fun playing the game. And I think that's an easy thing to forget sometimes. You get really caught up in your own world a little bit and
Right.
like how you want to be seen or how you want to feel like you're contributing to the team. And what I've learned is that it's just you can contribute in a lot of ways for the team. You
Love
can
it.
contribute on the point sheet, you can contribute on the forecheck, creating energy for your team, you can contribute defensively, making a good block, like having a good stick. There's so many things, and a lot of those are not stats. And I think that's just super important to remember. And we're playing the game we love. And go ahead, Nick. What's up?
What about contributing completely off the ice or not even in skates as a teammate? Because
Hmm.
I feel like someone I know here could really speak to that.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, another point is just like when you are mentoring those younger players, you're helping them be more comfortable, in turn, helping them play better. So that could just be things off the ice that you're doing to make them feel more part of the team, to make them feel like they can go out there and just play free, right? Because if you're a
Right.
younger player, you're probably maybe gripping your stick a little bit tight, and maybe you just need a little bit of guidance from an older player and being like, hey, it's okay. You can make mistakes. We all make mistakes. Everything's all right. And I think just doing that allows everyone to play at their best because we all know we're trusting each other.
Well, I'll take it to another level too. One of my own kids was in a slump, point wise recently
Hmm.
with the sport, and was really hitting them.
Hmm.
And from a mentorship parenting standpoint, we were given all the right messages about the work ethic and things like that. But it kind of broke it down to the point I just said, "Hey, listen, talk about contributing. Just be a great teammate today.
Hmm.
I don't care if I mean, obviously, you can't be a liability. You got to understand the concept of that." But he wasn't being a liability, right? It's like, just be a great teammate today. Like, I don't hear you supporting your teammates like you normally do, right? And that clicked, and they showed up and they were really supportive. And guess what else started to click as soon as that happened, right? Like
Uh-huh.
the points started coming back. So that little mindset shift, a mentor can really provide that. Haley, let me
Hmm.
ask you this too. In youth girls hockey, or just being a girl in youth hockey,
Hmm.
um, do you feel that there's more stress on point production or being seen? And I'm not just talking about being recruited. I mean the whole journey.
Yeah, I think there definitely is. I think in terms of the social media aspect, in terms of stats, like they're tracking teams as young as like 8U for league, in the country. It's like, how are we ranking this? Like,
It's
what?
kind of scary. I'm not
It's
gonna lie to you.
yeah, yeah, but it's a lot, and the kids are probably
Yeah,
seeing it, and they're probably
they do.
overthinking it, and where they are, and where they should be, based on standards. And I just think it's unrealistic expectations that are put on these kids way too young, and it just is so unnecessary. Like, how are we ranking like this? This is
Well, look, I'll
absurd.
say just on that note, real quick. There's this. I believe this to be true. People will fight me on this. I don't think any 8-year-old kid goes around parading, "I'm a
Mhm.
AAA mite." I think
Yeah.
their parents do. I think their parents do, and that's why they say it. Because I can
Yeah.
guarantee you, there's no 8-year-old that's going to school and be like, "Hey, what's up? I'm a AAA mite player. I also love playing Roblox and Fortnite." And like, it's like it's not a kid thing. That's a parent thing.
Yeah.
Yep. And honestly, well, you really hit that. That's so spot on. I feel like so oftentimes parents are trying to live, and I'm using that very intentionally, trying to live vicariously, not always realizing
Mm.
that maybe like they're seeing a version of them that maybe they wanted to have that help or something, right? And sometimes you're kind of stuck helping a version of you instead of seeing the version of your child.
100%. And I can say this too. Like as a father of two, I always like to tell parents this. There's a level of that in terms of the behavior, it's normal a little bit. Like we all live through our kids. It's not a crazy thought. So like I don't want parents hearing that to think, oh, I'm doing something wrong. No, it's super normal. It's the awareness of it that's kind of the key. Of you have to be aware of, oh wait, I might be imprinting a bit here because I didn't have this. And
And
you actually hear parents say, when I was your age, I didn't have these fancy sticks, and like there's a level of that makes sense. You gotta
yeah,
find that as a parent.
yeah.
But I just want to say that, like, yeah, it's the awareness of it that's really the key. You gotta find. I'm
I,
doing.
I
Yeah.
like to pose another view to utilize. Like, so when you realize that, it's more of like, instead of thinking about just trying to coach another version of yourself, or imprinting, if you will, but more so think about it like, wouldn't it be more fun for you to be doing this with your kid and not just
Right.
for your kid? And I like that perspective, because then like ultimately you're doing these things for them to really, because you love them, and it's really, you want to also connect with them, and this is your way of doing it.
Right.
But one of the times I with having 8-year-old kids, 9-year-old, they're going to be more aware and more intelligent than we give them credit.
100% agree.
And one of the things that was the biggest change with kind of like, if you will, mentoring the families, navigating different side conversations of what the kids kind of going through and what the parents, and then having the switch, and then having those conversations, and then trying to instigate ways that they can connect and open that dialogue. That's one of my favorite things to do. It has nothing to do with the sport, but really the biggest passion is, I want to bring you and your family closer together through times in which you feel like you're pushing each other apart, or you don't realize just how on the same page you really are.
Yeah. I'll tell you both one that I hear a lot, that parents, again, sometimes I don't think they realize they're doing it. If you're playing youth hockey, you're spending a lot of money, right? And if you're consistently telling your kid, and again, sometimes I think parents say this without thinking this, how much I'm spending on this? You know how much I pay for this? And you do that. Well, your kids are going to start equating their worth through that statement of, well, my parents pay so much money, and I don't want my kids to feel that way. Now, with that said, parents, I do think there's a value in them understanding the value of the monetary, in the sense of, we have to earn money and we have to pay money. So I just expect that you're going to give your best, or give what you've got today, right? But it's never, because I spend so much money, you need to perform. I never say anything like this. And parents, I think if you audit what you say, you might be surprised sometimes that it might be coming across that way if you're not careful, right? Because look, we've seen this a lot, and I've heard a lot of this on the show doing 400 episodes. The burnout age is 15. Like, that's the common burnout age, right? And we hear about the pressure. And you know what the parents say sometimes, guys, is, but I've spent all this money only for them to burn out. That statement actually scares the hell out of me.
Also, can I make a huge point here?
Yeah.
Let that be so important and paramount, that it is nothing and never had anything to do with money to begin with. I think that's incredibly important. And one of the things that I like for people to think about is, when you're also trying to express your point, it's not about projecting it in one direction. You want the point to be not just heard, you want it to be understood. You want to be heard and understood. And that actually goes with kids. And I'll use my 3-year-old niece as a good example, right? Whenever she'll see me, maybe I'm passing by, just come in to take care of the dogs before I'm going back out for another session or something, whatever it might be. And she'll see me, she'll get excited. Hey, Uncle Nick, I want to come play, hang out. And I'll be like, Maddie, I would love to. I want to play. And Uncle Nick's got to go back to work. but we can play another time when I have more time. Is that okay? And more so like asking and sharing and not saying, hey, yeah, I can't play right now. I'm busy. Instead, because all she wants, she doesn't just want me to play. She wants to connect. That's all. She
Right.
wants to connect, and that's it. And if I make her feel heard and seen in that moment, even if she's a little upset, and that's okay.
Yeah.
That is actually the best thing for her. And how many times she'll be like a little bum at first, but then be like, okay, and then go, well, then that was it. Because we were able to complete the whole conversational cycle. We were both heard
Yeah.
and we both addressed the things that each one of us wanted the other to know and what the other wanted. So, for instance, with the value proposition, if you will, we're going to use money in this case. Like this is how much I invested. Then maybe the question or maybe a conversation is like, hey, this is how much I'm investing in this. Is this something that you're really passionate about? And wouldn't it be fair if this is what I'm investing, that isn't it fair for me as a parent to ask certain things of you? But that being said, you deserve to have certain boundaries and standards back.
Right.
And let's find a common ground instead of my ground. And I
Yep.
think that is, and I think it's also a fun, different way we can start connecting. I'll say we connecting with our kids, but connecting with just not ourselves, but ourselves with other people and
Right.
seeing how we can start changing those relationships mutually and favorably.
Well, you're creating a conversation, right? And I think that a lot of times, A, those conversations never happen, which is why they're important. B, to your point, Nick, with especially with young kids, it doesn't take as much, I think, as people think to make them feel heard, right? And I'll tell you why. For those of you listening, I'll tell you, like, I see a lot of this. I'm looking at my phone. Yeah, no, I love you too. All right, cool. Even I have to keep an eye on that with myself when my kids come up to me. Just putting the phone down, looking them in the eye, like you just said, and say, hey, let's what you say, close the loop a little bit. Like make sure that you feel heard. That goes such a long way.
Another thing too for younger or smaller kids, and this is I always everything I do and say, everything is intentional. Even when I'm like doing presentations and like I will actually sit so that there's no and like so when I go see her and I'm gonna have that conversation, I will get down on that level to meet her there so that she doesn't feel like I'm talking down
Right.
at her. But now, like, hey, I see you. We're equal. You and I both deserve to exist how we want without obviously having to say that, right? But that's what you're saying. And that's what the physical brains and bodies are picking up. So there's multiple layers of communication and connection. That's not just the person speaking or vocalizing certain things, but there's whole different ways that we're processing everything
Right.
and just being mindful of how we're sharing, and sometimes like I've noticed this for myself and like, okay, I might feel a little frustrated about something, but when someone's asking me something, different tone, different experience because they have one, they had nothing to do with that. Two, they don't deserve for me to take what I'm currently experiencing here and sharing it with them. That was never my intention and that's not what they want. But just being self-aware too as coaches, mentors, and parents. And like I'll share a quick little reset, just a quick little when you breathe out, just remember what you love about the thing you're about to engage with, and that will change everything.
I think sometimes like those little 5-second things you can do really can make a huge impact. I mean, we're talking about mentorship here today. Again, it's an Our Girls Play Hockey episode, but it's such a broad topic that I love that we're tackling it this way. And that's the whole purpose of Our Girls Play Hockey, right? Is it's not just for girls, it's for everybody. Hayley, I do want to ask you this too. I want to talk about peer-to-peer mentorship in the locker room as well. But I actually want to frame it again to the girls, right? Because I imagine, and again, whether it's an all-girls team or there's a couple girls on a co-ed team, creating that can be a different atmosphere. Like, what's your advice for? We'll start with athletes, then we'll go to coaches. But what's your advice for athletes to build that peer-to-peer mentorship environment?
Hmm. I think it's just really focusing on making sure you're talking to different people, making sure you're sitting next to different people in the locker room. So it's really on the players to really be accountable with each other to make sure they're not just sitting with people they're just best friends with, right? I think it's just getting out of your comfort zone a little bit, sitting next to someone new, making them feel comfortable, asking questions outside of hockey, asking questions about their family, about what they like to do besides hockey. And I think simple things like that can help you connect with other people and make everyone feel a little bit more comfortable. And then if you're on a co-ed team,
Yeah.
it can definitely be hard. I remember I was the only girl on a boys team and I was in bathrooms, janitor's closets. Like you don't really there was a point where it wasn't really fun anymore, and that was also when I did decide to go to girls hockey because it was about a full year of I felt really separated from my teammates, and I was also the coach's daughter. So I felt like there was kind of two things against me at that point. And when I realized that I wasn't having fun going to practice, going to games, I remember having that discussion like with my parents and being like, I think it's time for me to go to girls hockey. Like,
Right.
this isn't for me anymore. It's just not fun. So I think that was really important that I had that conversation with them and that I was open and honest and where I was and not enjoying the game anymore. And that's not the point. You're supposed to be having fun. So yeah.
Well, it also shows the importance of that locker room and that community that you're in,
Hmm.
because just showing up to play, well, I'm sure that, being on the ice is being on the ice. It wasn't complete. Like something was
Yep.
missing for you.
Yep.
And it was that camaraderie. I just saw this with my daughter, who again, she plays for both a co-ed and a all girls team, but I could see
Hmm.
it. I could see that she was just like, no one talks to me. And,
Yeah.
I'm on the ice and it's like, I'm on the ice. So it just goes to show you that this is so much more than just ice time.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
And that, we all play a role. And I love, Haley, too, that you said you recognized that something was
Hmm.
wrong. Right. I
Hmm.
think the other important part of this is that sometimes that can, if you don't recognize and you let it go for too long, burnout is not, it's
Hmm.
inevitable at that point. It's
Hmm.
going to happen.
That
It happens whether you're having fun or not at some point.
Yeah.
yeah,
So
that
for your
awareness.
daughters, well, I was going to ask, like for your daughter's team with the co-ed team,
Mm-hmm.
what's like a step maybe that you've taken or she's taken to kind of help her maybe be able to build those relationships?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, so for the co-ed team specifically, we do a lot of team building as coaches.
Hmm.
All right. Like we do a lot of interactions away from the locker room where we can kind of replicate that time together or put them in situations where they just have to work together and talk and get to know each other. I find that that's extremely beneficial for everyone, not obviously just the girls, but everybody on
Hmm.
the team. Right. The other part is, making sure that, how do I say this right? It's not about making anybody special, but just reminding everybody, hey, we're all on the team here, all of us,
Hmm.
the goalie, the skaters, the
Yeah.
defensemen, coaching staff. I think it's actually about breaking down. It's like, it's not that we have girls on the team. It's we are a
Yeah.
team, period.
Yep.
Like that it's creating that atmosphere. But yeah, you have to help kind of replicate that.
Hmm.
It's funny. The rink we play at now just built a women's girls locker room, which is great. But you're right. It's like, the boys on the team are very supportive. Don't get me wrong,
Hmm. Yep.
but it's like, she doesn't really exist until they're on the ice to them. It's not like this,
Yep.
right? So we
Yep.
also make them aware sometimes of, hey, remember, your teammate has to get dressed in a different locker room.
And
Hmm.
I think another component that is underlying in all of this is friend groups, right?
Right.
So this is something huge to be aware of, because so oftentimes, and what I was kind of alluding to earlier, like school carrying over to hockey, right? Like oftentimes kids will just be with their peers, like they feel comfortable with,
Right.
whether that's in school, then they're with the same or maybe some different people on their team, and then like outside of school, it's usually that because it's comfortable, it's easy, it's
Yeah.
already a known routine we can just run. Now, one of the things that I think would be great for people at any age as a skill set to just start practicing is literally getting to know your teammates
Yeah.
and getting to know your team, learning and becoming comfortable seeing someone and just going and sparking up a conversation. Because, like, if we're going to take this far outside of hockey, what is the most important factor to be able to contribute or serve or have your dreams fulfilled in life? Your
That's
ability to connect and communicate.
Yeah, that's great. And here's the other thing too. Taking this to hockey, I see it every year after tryouts. You didn't make the team you wanted to make. I'll do it from a parent perspective. All their friends are on that team. Well, make new friends. All right, like that. That's part of the journey. What else is funny too is that, and this is something that I think is shifting a little bit. We'll just say 20 years ago, little kids had no problem going up to other little kids and just being like, "Hi, I like this game. We can be friends."
Yeah,
right? and they still do that. I think there's some more distractions now with just kind of the screen technology. But what's funny about it is we don't do it as adults. And you literally have to force people together. Like, tell me something interesting about yourself. We'll go around the circle. This is great advice just for anybody to get to know the people you're with. So there's some investment there.
Well, speaking of investment, actually, this is going to speak to everyone here. This is something that when you pay attention to, realizing the power of connection, right? Mm-hmm. We grew up when like social media was really kind of just becoming. So it was easy to explode, but yet we're at the other end where it's not easy to take off.
Right.
Here was the biggest difference for most of those people that got on the internet. They had a lot of real friends.
Right.
And right. I think about this, like me, the kind of individual I am, I connect with any and everyone. That's just who I am. And that has created the vastest network that I have that I didn't know would benefit me until after I was done being an athlete.
Right.
And then I was like, oh my gosh, now I'm in the real world working. I'm working either with the same people I was just playing sports with or against. We're now in the workforce. We're now going to be doing business together. And so from the as an example, higher social media following gets you more money, right? Being able to have connections and connect with people and communicate, you think that's valuable? This wouldn't exist if that didn't. Right. And when it comes time, whatever's next for you, you don't even realize the investment you're putting into your Rolodex, if you will. Your contact list. Right now, you're calling them friends. But also, those same friends later on, I'm sure many parents can have learned this, that when you needed those friends, some of them weren't there. But yet, when they needed you, you were there. Now you started to learn a different type of relationship, right? So there's a lot that can be gained from this that's going to prepare you for literally so many more things in the future. And I like to share this because it gives the brain so much more to do what? Look forward and not what? Look behind and how do I change what I've done? Oh, wow, this is why I'm excited to learn how to engage with people. Why would I be excited about being a good teammate? I'm so glad you asked that. You know why? What is important to you? What's exciting for you? Well, I want to be X. I want to be the best investor. Well, whose money are you going to be investing? And what's the purpose of doing that? How are you going to create those relationships, right? That starts with being, you think, but a good teammate. Because when you're in business, those people that you're working with, those are your new teammates. They're called coworkers. The label changed, different, or they're called other business that you're doing business with. But if you're interacting and you're doing something together, that's still your team. It's new. It looks different. And don't you want your team to be successful? Yeah. Then selfishly, you could say, even take it from that approach. Selfishly, what can I do to be the best teammate for everyone else? Because I want my team to go to the top. If they're not going to do it, that's okay. I'm not here to force them. But how can I still be the best version of me to help my goals get there and help me drive to get to that point?
Well, I'll tell you what I love about this too, buddy, is that when we get to mentorship, there is no mentorship without communication. And if you can't communicate, it's tough to mentor or be mentored. The other thing is that I love you think I'm young enough that social media happened when I was growing up. That really made me feel good. I appreciate that. Now, I was Facebook was actually created when I was in college, so I was right there at the beginning.
MySpace was where it all started.
Yeah, man. I had a song. I had a song like everybody else did, but
That's it.
you're absolutely right. And that, when we grew up, that was not there, right? You had to talk to people, and there's a whole generation of kids that was raised not knowing that, now knowing that again, so forth and so on. So listen, to bring this one home, I want to ask this question. We talked about communication. I want to talk to the coaches listening to this episode, because creating a mentorship environment, and we talk a lot about environment on this show, about the environment has to be right for these things. Is essential. So I'll throw it back to you both as the experts here. How can coaches create a mentorship environment in the locker room, keeping in mind too that the mentorship might not even be coming from them. It might be coming from the teammates. It might be the assistant coaches. And then also tell me, kind of within the answer, maybe one piece of advice that a mentor gave you that changed your career or your mindset within that environment.
Well, I think for the coaches, I think what they can maybe do is there's probably leaders on your team, like natural leaders, and maybe just giving them tasks or things to kind of focus on, and be like, hey, I'm noticing like this player, like let's make an effort and make sure they're feeling a little bit more comfortable, like chat with them in the locker room a little bit more, like things like that. I think coaches really got to maybe be on that a little bit more and able to have those conversations with some of their players that they notice maybe have like those leadership qualities or have those good like connections with their teammates. Um, in terms of advice, I mean, the biggest piece of advice I was always given was just to not, I, I focused too hard on like the goal and like if I wasn't achieving that goal rather than just being where my feet were and being grateful for where I was at in
Right.
my journey at that point. And thinking too far ahead and not being like, hey, look where you're at now. Like, enjoy where you're at now, be appreciative, and then it will lead you to where you're meant to go.
I love that one, because I feel like I'm consistently saying that to others, but I also feel like I'm consistently saying that to myself.
Yes.
And it's that advice that I think it's paradoxical in the sense of I hear that one a lot, but it's always relevant.
Hmm.
It's always relevant. It shows you how much your mind can leave the present moment, which again is a normal thing for the human mind to do, but be able to bring it back centered. As I hit my microphone, be able to bring it back centered. It really is tremendous advice. And I think I always say this too, Hayley. Like almost none of your problems, almost none of them exist in the present moment. You're
Yeah.
thinking about the future or the past. There are some
Hmm.
things that do happen in the now, but it's
Hmm.
like 80% of your worries are not going to happen. So I
Yep.
love that advice. Nick, what about you? Do you have any gold nuggets that were given to you?
Yes, honestly, I'll start with the piece of advice and go from there. You can't pour from an empty cup. And I think if coaches are serious about like instituting mentorship, first and foremost, if you're going to teach something or do something, I firmly believe you should have the experience, not just the knowledge of, but the experience of it, so that you have the wisdom to be able to connect
Right.
in doing so. That's the biggest piece. So in finding someone as a coach that you don't have to go hire a mentor. It doesn't have to be something like that, but someone that you can use as your own checks and balances. This way, and I say this because like otherwise it could easily become a dictatorship in the sense of like, now I'm just going to project what I think is good mentoring. That's a big difference.
Right.
Huge difference. Because if you haven't had the experience being mentored, experiencing that progression and positive changes, then you don't necessarily aren't going to be able to see if those things are working or not necessarily
Right.
working in that way. So, and also can't pour from an empty cup as coaches and mentors, making sure we're taking care of ourselves so that we are the best version of ourselves in all the moments we're with the people that we're mentoring, coaching, teaching. Because ultimately, the only thing any of them want to be heard and seen and connected with. And the version of you that shows up is going to be the version that dictates how they experience it, because all of them are looking to you for how it's going to go or flow. And I think from that perspective, it will help open up and make things more fun. Yeah.
Nick, I love it. I think we're going to leave it on that one, because what you just said is pretty strong. Same thing with you, Hayley. Like a lot of this just comes down to the awareness of what we're talking about. Like mentorship, it's funny when you dive into the episode, you're like, oh, this is the topic. And it just expands like the universe because there's so much behind it. But if we don't have these conversations, we won't explore, we won't grow, we won't be able to receive. So that's great. So Hayley, thanks for letting us borrow Nick today. He's a great guest. That was pretty fun.
You're welcome. Yeah, he's a good chatter.
No, it was perfect. All right. And this is what I'll say to everybody. And Hayley, again, we're off to a great start with you. Everybody listening, make sure you keep coming back to Our Girls Play Hockey. But mentorship in hockey isn't just about teaching drills or winning games, right? Mm-hmm. It's about lifting each other up and sharing the experience and shaping great people along the way. I mean, if you feel like you're diving into that, you're probably doing it right. There's a lot of practical advice and thoughts today. And we can continue that discussion anytime, audience, if you want. But I have to say this too. If you want to learn more about the mentorship community that these two are running, the Pro Athlete Experience, check out the link in our show notes. It's a powerful resource for young players that are looking for support, inspiration, and guidance. You got a full hour preview of what that looks like today. And look, there's a reason that we brought Hayley and Nick on the show. It's not obviously not just because of your amazing resume as a hockey player, but because of your work in this space, right? The whole purpose of the Our Kids Play Hockey Network is to provide that communication, that conversation, that mentorship, that community, just like you're doing, which is why, Hayley, you're such a wonderful fit. Nick, I'm not leaving you out. She's the co-host. Okay, buddy.
When I heard about this, I was so happy and excited. And obviously, I'm grateful to be invited on as a guest. And anytime you ever want to continue these conversations, I'd always love to.
Hey, we've had reoccurring guests. Don't worry. Maybe up to your lady there, but we'll do it. But listen,
I love it.
That's going to do it for this edition of Our Girls Play Hockey. Remember, if you have any questions, comments, thoughts, you have an episode idea, if you want to ask us a question, Hayley a question, anybody, Nick too, email us at team@ourkidsplayhockey.com. It is always us that replies. And remember, there's a link in the show notes. If you tap that, you'll actually text to us. Just let us know your name and where you're from. It doesn't automatically tell us that. And we'll talk about it in a future episode. But for Nick, for Hayley, I'm Lee. This has been another great episode of Our Girls Play Hockey. We'll see you on the next one. Skate on. Have fun. Take care, everybody. We hope you enjoyed this edition of Our Kids Play Hockey. Make sure to like and subscribe right now if you found value wherever you're listening, whether it's a podcast network, a social media network, or our website, ourkidsplayhockey.com. Also, make sure to check out our children's book, When Hockey Stops, at whenhockeystops.com. It's a book that helps children deal with adversity in the game and in life. We're very proud of it. But thanks so much for listening to this edition of Our Kids Play Hockey, and we'll see you on the next episode.